What we're about to experience is a brief psychotic episode in a patient with schizophrenia. Schizophrenia can provide powerful experiences, especially for those undiagnosed or not having been treated effectively enough. The symptoms you will experience represent a compilation of a range of sensory occurrences. These occurrences include sights, sounds, and even scents. If you have any discomfort during the experience, please signal your mental health instructor, Ms. Manganelli.
I'm going to talk about something I started noticing several years ago. I'm going to say after what happened in 2012, and that doesn't have anything really to do with the Mayan calendar or anything, but definitely life-changing event, and haven't felt I'm in the same dimension of Earth since. I mean, everything's just gone batshit crazy. Went from almost a Brady Bunch scenario to, I don't even know how to explain it, but the anomaly I started finding out, and other people caught on about a year and a half later, and that was capturing photos on television. You know, I'd pause, and I would catch something going, what is that? You know, you can't do it on purpose. You pause on purpose, but you can't capture these things on purpose. And I had an older Philips big screen TV. That's what it started with, and I moved up to, an LG, a big screen LG, and it's the same thing. But what I'm noticing now is that there's kind of a cover when you pause, so it darkens the photo, the pause where you would take a picture. And that started happening after the anomaly was brought out. And so one day I was watching Fox News, and this happened. And then I took a closer look.
That you are a slave.
And I said, what is this? I said, this is impossible for pixelation to put this on a person's face. And to this day I'm puzzled as to not who it is, but what it is. So I was pretty well-to-do, great career. I've hit it a few times. And, going into, like I say, 2012, everything changed. In fact, I'll talk about it. January 1, 2012, I called my favorite Mexican restaurant the night before, New Year's Eve, 2011. Asked them if they'd be open the next day, normal hours, and they said yes. So I drive close to a half hour to get to it. It's that good of food, it's worth going to. And I get there. The parking lot is completely empty. No one's there. It's an entire plaza. Nobody else was around. It was about just a little before 8 a.m. They open at 8, and typically a little before 8. So, waiting around. And I figure, 10 minutes goes by, and I said, you know what? I don't know what happened. I guess we partied too hard last night, New Year's Eve. Didn't feel like coming in. Trash is just blowing everywhere. I mean, it was super, super windy, super cold actually. And well, January 1, it is going to be cold. So I get back on the road, hit the frontage road to get onto the highway. And just as I was entering the highway, everything out of the blue, I mean, I'm feeling completely normal. Everything looked like it went from about 10 after on a clock backward, on a clock, till about 10 till noon on a clock. Looked like the whole planet shifted, everything. I had to hit my brakes, slow down, and ride in the median till I got to I think it was a Cracker Barrel. I ended up having New Year's Day breakfast at. And I was puzzled as heck. And I had probably a 10-minute drive back to my house. It took me over a half hour to get there because I wasn't in sequence with what was going on. It lasted for a year and a half where I had a difficult time driving for whatever reason. Nothing else, everything else normal, completely normal. The second I would get in the car, sometimes I'd get on the road, drive down the street, stop, turn around, go back and figure it out later or try again later. But everything else, completely normal. But that's then these pictures that you had already seen in this video. From that day forward is when these anomalies started showing up. And I remember going into my local grocery store, something like a Safeway's, and just a different name. And I looked around and it was almost like I was in the Twilight Zone. Like everybody looked like their faces were melted. And they were all looking at me. Meanwhile, I see all the product fine, everything else fine, nothing's blurred, nothing's contorted. But these people, and I felt like I was on some kind of stage or something. I fell into something. Alice in Wonderland syndrome. I don't know. But again, everything else was normal. Everything looked fine, normal. But when they all looked at me, and I looked, and it was really scary to look at. But again, that's when the anomalies started showing up. And still to this day, we're in 2019, so there's your time date in the video, just going into May of 2019. And if you notice, the whole world's gone crazier and evil. When you think about it, evil is really beginning to show itself on a grand scale, especially California. Where I just saw a video the other day where they've now made pedophilia part of the learning at their school for sexual orientation, and starting out at the age of 5 years old, like kindergarten, I guess. It's insanity. And so you can talk left and right all you want, in politics, but there's also a left and right, a right and wrong, a good and evil, yin and yang. And if both don't exist, neither would exist. But the evil that's coming out in this world now is bad. I mean, it's just bad. And we're going to have a couple of generations of really, really ill-educated people. Just like that guy that demanded he be called ma'am. And these people are going to be getting into the political system. And I'm telling you, Idiocracy, the movie, could become very real, just in a different sense. In that one, they make fun of rednecks. This would be college kids today and over the last probably 5 years, or what I call the Obama years. And I think a lot of people will agree with that. I'm not knocking the president. I'm just saying during those years, things changed dramatically for the worse, especially in the educational system. Now, out of all this, let's talk about the good side for a little bit. Again, we on the good side have to exist, or the bad literally has no meaning or cause and effect for good to happen. And, you know, two of my favorite vloggers, I guess you can call them. I don't like people call, you know, YouTubers. That's really not what they are. They're people that upload videos to YouTube. Only to get shut down half the time anymore, it seems, if you're on the good. Are Owen Benjamin and the guy that just says, hey folks, Matt, that guy, Matt. And the reason I like them, and my style of video, is the logic set in it. You know, we can see through the BS real easy, and the people that watch them, except for the haters, can see through the BS that's going on. Like, take for instance the collusion case that went on with the White House for a couple of years. I'm not going to say the R word. And because they had nothing to do with it. Collusion was the left amongst themselves colluding, or as the president said, attempted coup at his Wisconsin rally, or was it at the NRA talk, I think, actually. And so there's going to be this set of people out there that are doing the good things in life, that can see through all the lies and deceit, you know. And what reasons they do this for, it's got to go beyond for votes. It has to. There has to be something else in play. I realize that when these people get their power, they get power hungry. I get that. But at the same time, it makes no sense unless they are actually utterly evil. And there are people that are evil to the core. And, see, that's probably an evil email that just came in. Hopefully not. But one of the things I want to talk about is where your persona from birth to the age of 7 is formed. And I'll be able to actually prove this and talk a little bit about Nikki Sixx from Motley Crue, which I'm a big fan of, by the way. So we'll go on to that, and we'll talk about, like I say, how these, it's really not when people get into universities. They get suckered in the universities, like the Antifa and the anti-good is what I'll call it, you know. But it's the formation, that 0 to 7 years old, that really says who you are to this day, no matter what age you are. And there's a video by Bruce Lipton, I'll leave his video in the link, and it makes sense, so much sense. You're gonna go, oh, that's why he's like that. Oh, that's why she's like that. You know, or twins maybe, that's why they're like that. And it's all root cause. But where did it start? Did it start with their parents from 0 to 7 and their parents' parents from 0 to 7? All the way on back. Where did it actually start? Or, at the same time, do we talk about DNA or environment or all these things combined that have created the world atmosphere that we live in? So these will be things up for debate, possibly even talk with others that upload YouTube vids, and you know, look at the conversation. As you remember, when I started this video, it was about landing in a whole other world, and I don't know how many of you will agree with me out there, but look back to 2012, maybe a little after, and tell me, do you still live in the same dimension you did back then? You know, and just to even further the point, there are videos out there that people have brought up, and it woke me up actually to a couple of other anomalies I hadn't noticed yet. One of them was sense of smell. And I've got a backyard, I've got a park behind my backyard, couldn't smell anything. And I was like going, this is beyond bizarre. And they were just talking about how plants didn't smell anymore, trees didn't have a smell to them, you know, and it was quite curious, you know. And sometimes, on rare occasion, you actually would be able to smell. And, you know, so there's things, again, you know, go back to the beginning of the video and look at those pictures, because I've been collecting them, you know, taking these pictures myself for years now. And there's something to be said for that movie, They Live, and how it's been said it was actually a documentary by, I believe, Roddy Piper himself, the star of the film. He goes, that wasn't an entertainment film, and he goes, that was a documentary in the style of entertainment. And then just ponder the thought of why you're actually here. We don't even know what existence is. We just know that we're here. We got thrown here, okay? Just born right into it. But from what? You know, and that's the age-old question, right? From what? From where? Certainly you weren't born just to go down and eat Taco Bell burritos or work at a Taco Bell, you know. Where the hell's the purpose of that, you know? So, anyway, I'm going to leave off on this note for this first video, the What Next series, because anymore, that's the only question I have is what next?